All right, let's try this one more time. Hopefully, my mic is working now. Um, Definitely let me know in the comments below if the mic is not working. I think I figured it out. Yeah. Like I said, this is our first time going on Facebook. We usually go Instagram, but could you hear me, Hans? Comment below if you can hear me. Because it's the first time I've done this on Facebook. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna send another invite to Martina. So loud and clear. Cool. I figured out what was going on. I was trying to play my music before the intro music, and the mic got cut out. So oh wait, okay.
Okay. Look, my
There we
hair
go.
got puffy from getting all flustered.
I was over here sweating. I was like, damn, this isn't gonna work out. All right.
I know.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you everybody for watching for another episode of Burn the Wagon podcast. I'm just gonna do a little prayer real quick, and then we'll get into the questions I got for you. I want to send love to anybody out there that's suffering from domestic violence issues. I want to send love to anybody that's suffering from mental health issues. I want to send love to anybody that's suffering from addiction. I want to send love to any of our ancestors that have passed on to the spirit realm. I want to send love to every one of you for being here and watching today or watching in the future after I post. I want to send love to our precious Mother Earth. And right now I'm on Amamutsan territory in Santa Cruz, California. If you want to comment where you're at, what territory you're at, that'd be dope. So yeah, thank you very much, Martina, for joining me again. First, I just want to start off with an intro and also saying thank you for joining me on the live first Burn the Wagon live podcast. It was an amazing show and you did amazing. So I had to come and bring you on one of the lives for sure.
He'en ma'iwa toshichi ma'emto Martina Morgan. Mike wina amabakeya shma. Yahui. My name, how is everybody? My name is Martina Morgan. I'm from the people of the top of the land, which today is known as Kashaya, the Kashaya Band of Pomo Indians. And then also my lineage is also Manchester Point Arena, which we call Boya. And those are the Boya people. And so I come from both strong bloodlines and all that, cultured and in our ways and traditions. And right now I'm on the land of the lake people right now. So yeah.
Lake
Oakland,
County.
Lake County Pomo people, which there's so many of them. So,
I've actually
but
been getting into a dope native rapper from out there, from Elam, Stewie G.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been listening to a lot of his music, trying to get, and I got the pleasure of interviewing him too. I haven't spent much time on the lake, honestly. Too
Yeah,
damn
it's a
hot
good
out there.
place to be. A lot of culture going on over here. A
There
lot
is,
of
and
good
I
people.
think I've seen pictures of Elen's roundhouse. It is so nice.
Yeah, they're very much like us in the same way of holding our culture and all that, kind of far off. So they were able to hold on tighter to a lot of the culture. It didn't, not so much of it had to go to sleep. At least that's from my perspective and my view. Just like us on the coast. So we were kind of lucky in that way.
Yeah, so you mentioned from being from Kashaya. I definitely want to talk about that because it's pretty remote out there. Both of our reservations are pretty remote.
Yeah.
And you served as a tribal council member, correct?
Yes, I was vice chairwoman in 2015, and I came in and I took over for another vice chair. So I took over her term, and then I continued with another term afterward. So I said in 2 terms.
Oh, cool. And two terms, that's what, 4 years? Or
Well, because I was taking over somebody else's, it was 3.5 years.
oh, okay, cool. And how was that experience being a part of tribal politics?
Um, Being a part of tribal politics is, it's really fun, really, actually. I mean, it could be a headache. I mean, you know, sometimes you're just spread really thin and you have a lot of work to do. And, you know, you want to make sure that every tribal member is heard, and you want to concentrate on everyone as a whole. So difficult in that way, but so fun and fulfilling to be able to fulfill needs like land and housing and just any little thing that you can possibly think of, you know, when it comes to tribal lands and people.
Yeah, that's cool. And actually, you just mentioned something I just learned the other day is boya,
Yeah.
and that's what was it? River, river people or river of the mouth?
It depends on who you talk to. Padaha is river, you know, that's a river
Because
there.
that's what I've
But
been learning
for,
from Sal too is
yeah,
Padaha. Yeah.
Boya for us, we were taught that it means the fog people, you know, fog people or the people in the fog, you know, that's how I learned it. So if I'm not correct, completely correct, then you know that's what I was taught by my auntie. So
That's cool. I like that. I like that one. The people of the fog, because where we're at, it's Fog City. That's why I like
yeah,
to. I have a
yeah,
couple poems that I wrote that I like. It's like fog. I call it Fog City because like it's literally constantly foggy. Like I feel like
yeah,
it's Portland. What people say about Portland is just constantly just like foggy and overcast.
yeah. And it's like people always think it's raining there, but we're like, no, it's fog rain. It's just fog
Yeah. Yeah.
rain.
Did you see recently it like snowed in Puerto Rico or
Yeah,
hailed snow?
yeah,
I mean that's crazy
that,
because it's like all over California is like not it's happening in places that it's like because like it hailed like on my porch too in Santa Cruz and I'm like 5 minutes walk from the beach
yeah.
and that's rare to see
Isn't that
like that
crazy?
close. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It
scary.
happens. It happens every what 10 to 15 years, but recently it's been happening a lot more. Getting some snow on the coast,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
wild.
So one thing I took away from that you said from our live is your culture is the love of your life. And a lot you've been doing a lot of stuff with the Pomo Weavers Basket Society, and that's amazing because my aunt she gave me for Christmas one of the baskets she made for getting seaweed,
Mm-hmm.
and those baskets are amazing, and like to bend those branches and do all that stuff is amazing. So I definitely want to talk about that and what goes into making these baskets, and without that one in particular, what wood is made out of the seaweed one.
Well, for Kashaya and Pointerina, we both use a lot of hazel in our basket weaving. And so I was taught every kind of basket that I make that is a work basket is made out of hazel. But I've been recently with the PWS, which is Pomo Weaver Society. I've been with them for a couple of years. The founder is Silver Galetto, and he's an amazing person. He learned some of his techniques and skills from to make cradles from my grandma Jeannie, um, Billy Parrish. She has many last names, but here's one that I did in dogwood. So I'm trying the other types of switches. So as you can tell, it's really, really red. It's dogwood. It's fresh, and usually you don't make them fresh because it'll loosen up. They shrink when they dry. But yeah, I started working with those, and with these new like dogwood, willow, and just all these other kinds of switches. And so it's new for me. Hazel is really tough, but it's really forgiving, and it goes right where you can put it. And you can weave with it dry or dry and then rehydrated, and then also you could do work with it fresh, and it dries really, really strong. And so that's been fun, learning new ways of weaving and new materials of weaving. So here I made a little miniature. Look at my miniature
That's
seaweed
so cool.
basket. Yeah,
Is that seaweed in
and
there too? That looked like seaweed
yeah,
in there.
it is. And then a little miniature trap,
Oh, that's cool.
bird trap.
Cool.
Yeah, and
And
then
that
I
would be
did
to trap fish, correct?
yeah,
Or
or birds, and then a miniature bird in basket. Made it with
wow.
hazel. Yeah, and so some of the things that we're learning, we learn from each other and teach one another, and so that becomes really nice. Like to be able to find people to collaborate with and come together and learn gathering techniques and weaving techniques. And it really is beautiful to bring back to life a part of our culture that has really gone to sleep, where, you know, some people would say there's still a lot of weavers, but really when you think about it, when there's thousands of us as Pomo people and there's only 100 or maybe even 75 or even 50 weavers, that's not a lot of people. So the one thing that we are doing is just teaching and learning from one another. And so like my auntie, Violet Parrish Chappelle, she taught me how to weave when I was young, when I was 12 years old. And she taught me different stitches. And one of the stitches she began to teach me was coiling when I was really young. So here's my miniature. Oh, and
How did your fingers make that?
it was hard. I mean, it was just exciting, so I kind of kept with it, but I made it. And then here's one practice material.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know, and she taught me the cradle stitch too. And by that time her hands were really tight and arthritic. Like she said, that's what she said, they were tight and arthritic. So when I found the basket weavers group, they, you know, they just helped me to remember those stitches and remember the weaving and get into it and be able to finish what I started, projects I started. And but since then, since I was young, I've always weaved a lot of work baskets. Yeah.
So the weaving is always, you've always done basket weaving.
Yeah, a lot of work baskets. And I love to make work baskets because you can just make anything. You could tortilla baskets, baskets for your acorns to dry in, baskets to leach your acorn in, just baskets to store your seaweed, you know, everything. I make baskets with everything, but it's something that I've done for years, you know, and so to be able to learn these new techniques is beautiful. And so like this right now is dogwood. So we're collecting dogwood, and I made some small cradles, you know, starts, just sets to put them away and let them cure, and then I'll use them later. Then I made some hoops for some dolls, some doll baskets, and then, you know, some of the leftover sticks, we just dry them and we'll make little baskets out of them later. And so like, you know, every season has different things we're gathering, you know, so it's been fun, and it's really busy because it's a really short period of time, you know. So like dogwood, you know, we've been collecting it for the last couple of weeks, and the time's gonna cut short as soon as it starts being sunny and warm. They're gonna start blossoming and or blooming, and we're gonna have to stop. You know, once the buds come out, that's done. We're done. No leaves, no buds. We can't gather those because those are winter plants we gather.
Okay.
Then we'll go
So
to
what would
our
you move
spring
on to
plants.
next?
What should be coming is sedge, sedge and willow, and you know, then right after that would be bulrush and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And I went to like one little thing that you guys are doing in Santa Rosa at the museum, and like you said, it was really cool to like see you guys like, hey, how do you do this, like this style of stitch? And then somebody would run over and like teach you how to do it, and then like it was so cool to like just witness that, like that group setting of just like you saying, learning from each other and spreading that to each other, and then like each one of you guys can take that and spread that to your family members or whatever, you know what I mean? And that was amazing to be a part of, that like that 10-minute, 15-minute little thing when me and my mom and cousin popped by. So
yeah, so our founder Silver Galetto, his dream is to reincorporate basket weaving into families, and to teach, make more weavers. And so like when we have setups at different, you know, different gatherings, then we usually have somebody working on something different, so that we will have someone working on a cradle, someone working on coiling, rope, you know, doing twine baskets, traps, everything. And so like some people are more, they work better in different materials than others. And so, you know, they love working with certain materials and they do a great job. And so it's always like that. So we have something different for people to see what we're doing. And we started out small, and now we're moving around and showing people what we do and how we, keep our culture alive.
I love it, and I love seeing my aunt a part of it too. And I'm trying to convince my mom to do some designs in her baskets, but she's like, "No, no, that's Melissa's doing designs in her basket. I'm not doing designs." I'm like, "You can do a different design. It doesn't have to be the same design, or it can be the family
Yeah.
design or whatever." But she's like, "No, I'm gonna keep it simple." I'm like, "Damn it."
Yeah. And and I seen your mom's baskets and they're so pretty, and I think like everybody has their own special touch in how they make their baskets, and what's funny is that we could all have a seaweed basket made out of the same material, and we could have them all lined up on a table, and somebody could go mix them up, and we just look at them. Oh, this is yours, this one's mine, and we know just by looking at them, and they all pretty much look the same. Somebody who's not a basket weaver would look and say, how do you know that they're all the same?
Because yeah, the person's
Yeah.
weaving style.
So like
That's the cool
that's how
thing
it's gonna
about,
be for your mom.
yeah,
you
yeah,
know
just knowing each other is like, that's amazing. You know what I mean? And another thing that I really like that you do is the tanning hide.
hmm
Um, have you done anything of that since the class, or was that just that class?
It was just that class, but I am trying to I've been trying to get other people to call the guy down to their res and onto their lands and do the same thing. But that's slow starting because people are kind of how it is. It's slow starting. There's really no funding for that kind of stuff. I mean, funding for that is slowly coming in, trickling in. So then those doors will open much more quicker later. But yeah, I mean, I want to, and time's coming up soon. We'll start gathering some hides and putting them in the freezer, or storing them, however. And then we'll be able to do that. But just to gather that skill was so amazing. Like he said, this takes days to do, and here we did it within a weekend. And it was, I mean, I was like kind of sitting there scraping the hide, and I'm like, oh my God, what did we get ourselves into? But once you find that love and that passion to learn something, it becomes so easy, and you want to see the finished product. And so that's what it was. And when I look at my first hide I ever made, it's so soft. And even he said, he's touching, he's like, wow, this is really soft, you did a great job. And I'm like, thank you. And the same with Robert's was so soft, and Robin's was so soft. Robin Mealy and Robert Morgan, my husband Robert Morgan. So we all did the class together, and that was amazing, like just to learn that skill, something that our ancestors did. We learned to do that.
And that's something I was talking to somebody the other day, like all this stuff, gathering all these materials for the baskets, for acorns, everything you're talking, it took a lot of work. Like a lot of this stuff was very time consuming, and like very like physical work for everybody that did it.
Yeah, no, for real, because when you go and gather these materials, it's not just go out and gather from some bush. Sometimes we go out and, usually sometimes we get like people will call PWS and they let us know, hey, I got this, plant on my property. If you guys want to come and gather, you can. And we always tell them, don't do that. Don't invite us, because it's not a one-time thing. This is every season we're coming back. Every season's, because we have to tend these products, and it's part of reciprocity and stewardship, right? We don't just take, we give back, and giving back means taking care of that area and that land. And so when we go to a place, it's not just gathering. Sometimes it's completely cleaning, turning the soil, feeding the soil, talking to the plants, getting them prepared for the next season. And maybe it's not even the next season, it could be 2 years later. And sometimes we come back with nothing but the goodness in our heart that that plant is going to be beautiful for gathering in 2 years,
Yeah.
and we're pain, or like our arms hurt, our legs hurt, we're like, oh, my back.
But also,
because it's a lot
like
of work.
when you're tending to that, it's not only the bush that's like getting tended to, it's the little critters around that's walking around that they use that bush for shelter, or whatever it may, some birds that may use it for a nest or something, you know what I mean? Like It's much
Yeah.
more than just that plant, because the whole forest uses all of that, you know. So it's, and that's something I didn't really think of, that you guys do is when you go pick, we guys do tend to that land. It's not just like a picking thing.
Yeah, so like we did so recently, we went and gathered, and come to find out, there was this like, it was a stump, and on top of the stump was a lot of leaves and stuff, you know, debris, and the area was really overgrown. So we didn't get very much out of it, but it was more so cleaning up the area, getting it ready for the next, you know, season or what have you. And so this stump looked really, it looked really different. So we're like, wow, that's strange. We never seen anything like it. And so those, everybody left, and those who stayed behind, like we did, and you know, straightened up everything at the end, and it ends up being a bobcat den. Yeah, and so the bobcat and her young ones came up, and she's circling the stump and all this debris around it. Right, we didn't touch it because when we cut to it, you know, when they cut to it, it was like, okay, what is this, you know? And so I was able to, me and the others that were there, were able to see these bobcats come up. They were circling it, and the mom, the little one, went into the den. The mom just started sniffing around, walking around, and she was, you know, growling. And so I was like, I talked to her, you know, some people think, oh, that's crazy. Animals don't listen. Animals don't understand us. But long ago we could, long ago, we were able to speak to one another and understand one another. So I just spoke to the bobcat, told her we're sorry, told her what we were doing. And I left an offering for her, and I sang a song for the area. And, you know, and that's just what I was taught, you know. And so like now we know that's their den, and so we will leave that particular spot alone. So it's like those things, like you said, like sometimes we go into an area, oh, that's a little nest there, so we're not going to touch that area, we'll go this way, you know. So
That's amazing. I didn't really think of those things when I'm seeing you guys' posts and seeing you guys working with these things. That doesn't go into my brain that you guys are doing these things, and continuing that taking of care of the earth, like you said, you know, and going in and not just picking, because that's that, like, you know, that capitalistic mindset is, I'm going to take what I need and then not take care of what's in that you know, place, you know.
mm-hmm.
So that's amazing to think about, is you're still passing that down. And also, earlier you said, like, Silver is trying to get families to continue weaving together. It's amazing, because my mom, she'll weave with my cousin Melissa, and then she'll weave with my cousin Sierra, who's 15, I believe, and then there's Camila, who's 4, and she's starting to weave her own self. So it's amazing to see. So what his dream, it's definitely coming true. And it all started with, like, I'm sure, seeing people like the Homo Weaver Society just start, you know. So people are like, oh, I'm gonna do that at home.
Yeah. And you know, some people think that, oh, they're too young, you know, push them away. Oh, go on, go play, little kids. But you know what? Once you teach them, put that in their memory when they're really small. Maybe their basket doesn't look pretty. Maybe it's not beautiful like yours. And sometimes oh, you don't know how to do it. Let them make an ugly looking little basket, because you know what? To them, it's beautiful. And to one day when you look back at that little, you know, rinky dinky little starter, you're going to look back and say, look, you made this when you were little. Now look what you're making. You know, it puts that memory in them, into not just their mind, into their heart, into their DNA, you know. So
it's really amazing to see, because she's you know, she just got her little tiny thing, and she's ready with her needle. She's good with the needle. She's, you know, she's weaves it perfectly. And my other cousin, little Josiah, he's made 3, and like you said, you know, he's you know, I think he's in 4th grade, so he's about 10. So, you know, I mean, they're not the, like, my mom's style, but like he's still trying, and he's still doing it, and he made 3 so far. And it's going to be amazing to look back at, like, look, you made this with your aunt. You sat there with your aunt and made this, like, 3 days in a row.
And you know, we look at things, right? And we're so far into Western society and Western culture, we forget that not everything was written down, not everything was recorded. It was we taught by showing and we learn by seeing. So, we have to remember that with these young ones. And so we taught them very young. They sat and watched us very young. So we need to continue that so that they can carry that on.
Yeah. And so talking about land, kind of want to move into our next subject and kind of what land back means to you. And I know that Kashaya recently got some land up on the coast recently, right? But it's not much, is it?
2015, we signed the paperwork to have land come back to us. But first, I'd like to talk about like what is land back. It's giving and helping, right? It's a restoration to culture, to language, connection to the earth. Our agreements, ancestral agreements of stewardship and reciprocity. So it's just not, getting land back, and, we have long time agreements about, ancient agreements, shall I say, about taking care of the land and the land taking care of us. When we take care of the land, we're not only taking care of the land, we're taking care of the animals, the creatures, the flying birds, the things that are down into the earth, taking care of everything, right? And not just that, but we're taking care of those generations that come after us. And so when you're giving back land, or helping to gain land back, that's what it means. It's all the things that encompasses culture and people and language and land and reciprocity and stewardship. The land knows us and we know the land. The same beat in our heart is in our land, right? And so when we talk about land back, for us, it was 2015 when we were able to get purchase back coastal land in our territory in northern Sonoma County coastal area. And that was not just with the help of all of our tribal members. All of our tribal members put all their money together. And then we also had nonprofit organizations help with money, governmental agencies. Sonoma County of Sonoma gave us some money to purchase the property, and that is now our Kashaya Coastal Reserve, and it's beautiful. I access it all the time. We gather on that all the time. But and then I want to talk about what is land back not. It is not having to purchase the land from you. You don't get the right to say, I gave them back their land. No, you sold it to us. Big difference there. You don't get to be in the category of land back. You don't get to say that you gave our people our land back that was traded to you for beads. When there was a time when we didn't understand what land ownership was, so that's what it's not. It's not purchasing a land,
And yeah,
so to be in that category.
No, yeah, I 100%. Because that's something that I was thinking when you were explaining. Like, damn, like had to buy there, because I think PA Point Arena just did that too with like the house that's right above the casino. They bought that back, and that used to be Jackie Meany or something like that. But like, it's crazy that like we're having to go like ask people for money to buy this shit back.
Yeah.
Like that's not giving land back. That like you're saying, it's a perfect example. It's like that's not land back. You don't get to be in that category.
Yeah.
You sold something to somebody back.
Yeah, but then people are sitting around. Yeah, I helped Kashaya get their land back. No, you didn't. You sold it. Sonoma County helped us. The nonprofit organizations helped us. People helped us. Our tribal members put all their money together and helped us get our land back. That is land back.
Yeah, and I like you said before we even knew about land ownership or anything like this. And I like Sal said this in the live. It's hard to get land back when we don't take, like we didn't like have land ownership or anything like that. We didn't look at it like that. We just lived with these the creatures and the birds and the bees and all the trees and everything, you know. And I like how his narrative of that. But I do get like people saying land back. It's because in the media and stuff online and everything, it's a big thing right now. But it's
Yeah.
like Sal does push that, and I do like that. It's like it's hard to give something back that was never owned in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and one part of that land back, when I say connection to culture, traditions, and everything, it's connection back to our traditional foods. So, connection back to our health, right? And I like to say that because the more land that we have, you know, able to be accessed for our cultural gatherings, and you know, being able to gather our traditional foods is good for us, you know, for our bodies. We're able to eat more of our traditional foods in our home, introduce it more to our children. And as many of our people know, that when our elders get to that time in their life and they're on their bed, you know, transitioning, they always ask for those traditional foods, and we're able to go onto our land and get those foods they want. Go fish for those bullheads, go get that sea salt, go get that seaweed, go up in the hills and, you know, shoot that deer, gather acorns, you know, anything that they want. We're able to feed their spirit, you know, and fulfill what they need before they travel home, you know. So that it's the connection back to land is more than just land, you know, because she's our mother, right? And that great connection to who we are.
Absolutely. And man, I'm just like that was really. I'm just connecting with everything you said right now. I'm like, I had something to say, but I was like, damn, I'm just processing everything, all that knowledge. Yeah. Oh yeah. What I was going to ask you is, what are some of the things that you gather on that land that you guys acquired?
Oh, Jesus, everything. Berries, teas, nuts, medicines, mushrooms, salt, uh, seaweed. We fish. We just kelp.
That's something I
All
was going
the
to bring up. I
things.
was like,
All the things. You know, it's beautiful when we pull up and we drive in, open our gate and drive in. Well, it's difficult. First of all, I got to say this. It's difficult because when we sold the land, it was under agreement that the person who owned the land had to stay there. That was part of the agreement, that they lived there till they die. So, you know, we get past our gate, we open it, and there that person is. So that's difficult, you know, but we wanted the land, and so we agreed,
he's
you
still
know, is the only
living
way.
there?
Yes, it's the only way the land would be sold.
Oh, I
And
see.
so, but that's okay. You know, we have the land, and we have to remind him from time to time. And, you know, hey, wait a minute, don't ask me what I'm doing. You're on my land. And, you know, and so I'm not afraid to say that. And I'm not nice about, I mean, I am nice, you know, I'm respectful, but I say it, you know. Not everybody wants to say it. Everybody's like, don't say nothing. No, no, no. He's not going to come over and tell me, you know, this is my land, you know, don't come up and ask me what I'm doing.
It's funny
Gather.
that you bring up kelp because I was gonna ask you if you eat that because I ate some when I was back home. Man, that shit is salty.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like a salt. I always, you know, people always ask, what does it taste like? I'm like, you ever eat a salt rock in seeds? And they're like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
very similar to that.
My
Very
mom
similar to
loves
that.
that shit. My mom loves kelp. She has 2 bags sitting on her table right now.
Yeah, I put it in stews and stuff like that. You know, like if somebody's sick, you know, like I'll make like my stew or my soup will have kelp. It'll have bits of seaweed. It'll have angelica. It just has all kinds of our medicines in it. And you know, I just learned that as I grew up. You know, my auntie was and my great grandpa, you know, they taught me a lot about you know, our traditional food. So you know, that's, and you know, I feel rich when I'm able to do those things, you know. And
Man,
yeah,
some seaweed and tortillas sound bomb right now.
yeah. Yeah, with mushrooms and deer meat and yeah, just everything.
Is that something you do too? Is you go out mushroom hunting? I actually
Yeah,
did see that on your Facebook.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, we always get a bunch of mushrooms, and we dehydrate some majority, and then that way we have them throughout the year. And we've been eating mushrooms for days on end for the last couple of weeks, and so it always ends up it makes me feel really strong. And the only way I could explain it, when I eat my traditional foods, I feel light. Not light as in heavy, heavy and light, but light inside. Like I feel bright and energetic and just strong in my mind, in my body, and in my heart. So like I know that we're supposed to go completely back to our traditional foods.
Yeah, I agree, because when I'm here in the city, I eat awfully, and I eat chips and soda and all that. I just got back from the store, and I just got some chips, and I was like, man, this is gonna make me feel awful tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
But I still eat it, and it's like there was a time when I lived in PA, and it was the homie's mom and parents would go out and get mushrooms and get everything from the garden, and like the dad would hunt the deer, and like man, that was nothing was like processed, nothing went through like any type of pesticides or anything like that. You know what I mean? And you feel, like you said, you feel amazing when you eat these foods that you saw get picked, that you helped like harvest or whatever. You know what I mean? So I absolutely agree. Is acorn mush something that you like?
Oh, I love acorn mush. And I process a lot of acorns, and my daughter loves black acorn, so I get black acorn for her. And the last couple of years I've been gathering black acorns and processing those. But I also like black acorn, blue acorn too. They're really nutty, and so that's good. But I'm purely coastal. I love my tan oaks, and so it's just like I said, like, I gather, and just, sometimes it's like a smorgasbord of all traditional foods. One thing that I can say about the Coastal Reserve, so on our 41 acres that we did have, there's, huckleberries, one type, and, or maybe it's the flavor, the ground it's in, it always tastes the same, like there's one flavor. So on the Coastal Reserve, we have a huckleberry patch where there's so many, like hundreds of bushes, and as you gather, you can tell they look a little different. Some look older, younger, whatever. The berries are bigger and smaller, and they all taste different. I'm not even joking. Like we were gathering, tasting huckleberries, and I'm like, wow, this one tastes like blah blah blah, and this one tastes, and it's like, it was, what I said was, it's like as if we went and did a wine tasting, but with huckleberries. So a huckleberry tasting. So every time we gathered on a different bush, we'd, taste them, like, wow, they're so good. And I never had that experience until here I am an adult, like, and the bears will go and eat the berries. So we get in there, gather what we need to, and then we out,
It reminds me of a kid gathering blackberries back in the day. And
yeah.
Put them in the Ziploc bag, throw some sugar in there, smash them up.
Yeah.
That was always fun. You got a couple of people in here commenting they're super proud of you. Keep up the hard work. Definitely, if you have any topics that I didn't bring up, definitely want to bring those up. Any issues affecting California Indians or your tribe in general, or just us on the coast, or just any topics that I didn't bring up, definitely bring up.
I think one topic that is really, out there right now is ICWA, Indian Child Welfare Act. What does that mean? What is it? The one thing, easily you can go and Google it. You can go look it up. You can watch YouTubes about it. It's so broad in the way of understanding. But I would like to say that when it comes to our Indian children, to our Native children, our Indigenous children, we are the ones who know best to what they need in their mind, body, and soul, in their spirit. Native children, Indigenous children, Indigenous families, they need to be, within their culture. Does that always mean that they're going to be with their own tribe? No, it doesn't. It means they could go to neighboring tribes. They could go to neighboring state tribes. That's sometimes how it works when there's no Native families available to take them. But we need to remember, and people need to understand that we are the ones who understand what is right for our children. Our children belong to our peoples. They're not a thing that you could give away. They're not a thing that you can take. It's us. Like, so I guess that would take me into talking about uh, who we are. You know, our connection to who we are is given to us through our people. You know, we are raised, our identity comes from our people. I know who I am because I was taught by my elders. I was taught by my parents. I was taught by my aunts and uncles. I was taught all the things I know from all these people in my culture, in my tribe, and sometimes even our neighboring tribes, you know. So I gather everything that I know, all this cultural knowledge and spiritual knowledge from indigenous people. And that's why indigenous children need to be with indigenous peoples. Just because you can really love someone, just because you can take a child and say you love them, loving them means making them understand and giving them the knowledge of who they are traditionally, culturally, religiously, and all the ways of their people, all the ways of their people. You can't just say, oh, I love this child and I will take them to a powwow. No, it's about gathering. It's about giving them their foods. It's about their prayers. It's about connection to their land, to their people. It's connection to who they are in their own self, you know. And so nobody can come in, no other race, no other culture could come in and say that I will love this child. Well, if you love this child, you will make sure that that child gets to go with their culture, with their people, you know, because we have mixed breed children, tribes. We do. And you can ask any one of them how hard it is for them, how hard it has been for them. You know, you're the white one in the tribe, or you know, or even in the outside Western society. Oh, you're mixed blood. You're not, you know, you're not completely white. You're not completely black. You're not completely Mexican. It's hard for them. And so when people want to talk about taking our children or taking away the rights for us to know where our children belong, they need to know they have no right. They have no right at all to step in and tell us what to do with our people. Just like they have no right to tell us where our culture comes from. They have no right to tell us what our history is, because it's our history. We are the experts at our own knowledge and culture.
Absolutely. And that's the main reason I started having these conversations, because I'm tired of the history not being told and from a perspective of from us. You know, it's always told in the history books of Columbus came over and you know, now we have this great country, but like you forgot about the billions of people that suffered from genocide, from all these things. Yeah, and I really connect with that, like, because it goes back to, if children aren't going to other Native families or Native homes or Native communities, it goes back to the boarding school style of assimilating them into a world that they're not used to. It lives in their DNA that they have to live with the families or the culture. You know, like you said, all this stuff lives in our DNA. So I 100% agree with that. And we did talk about that in the live, but I didn't know if I just want to try to get up some new topics. But yeah, definitely that is a big issue that we all should be paying attention to, because if they continue to take kids out of our communities and out of our culture, then our culture doesn't live on. Like we were saying, it doesn't continue with the family basket weaving. It doesn't continue with family gathering of acorns. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and you could even look at children who have been adopted out before ICWA. You know, these elders that come back to their people, they cry because they don't know who they were. They always knew they were different. They always knew they didn't belong. And then they come back to their people and their heart completely explodes. It breaks right open, you know, wide open, and they understand who they are. I mean, perfect example. perfect example, you know. So like that's really important. And also I did want to bring up language, like so of course I'm Kashaya and I'm Manchester Pointerina, so that is southern, or they call it southwest, so but it's also known as just strictly Kashaya Pomo. And then we're doing, what is it, central, right? Is it central Pomo? Let me see. Yeah, central Pomo. And so what we do, we study and on Zoom Mondays and Tuesdays right now. And Sal Martinez is running the Central Pomo language group, and it's been amazing to learn my grandparents' language. And I'm picking it up pretty easy. You know, it's hard because they're different. They were different linguists who worked with the tribal people. You know, so, and when I say different linguists, completely different in the way that they wrote down words, the letter, the alphabet they used, or the alphabet that they invented. And so, you know, I'm not really a linguist, so I don't really know the terminology, but for sure, it's been fun to learn the new alphabet of Hepburn something. Anyways, that linguist. And so I was strictly working with Robert Oswald's alphabet, and you know, he worked with my great grandparents and great cousins and stuff. And so it's been amazing. You know, I've been working on our language since I was a youngster, and it's a difficult language to learn, and it's really hard to just get going and talking. I could understand a lot, I guess, for a beginner, and so, you know, but it's hard to start talking because, you know, I'm not a fluent speaker. It's not my first language. My first language is English. That's really sad to say, you know, and then say that linguists know our language better than we do, you know? But our language, although, you know, these linguists can learn our language, they could learn how to write our language, read our language, speak our language, but a lot of times they don't have the rhythm. They don't have the connection, because our language, not only our words, but they speak so much knowledge, you know, and understanding to us, to our spirit, you know. So, and I just love when I learn a new word, because it makes me think of all the other words that also connect to that word, and how, you know, and I just, you know, I get all brainiac about it. And so does Robert, my husband. He, you know, his people do central Pomo too. He's from Yokayo, and but he's also northern, so he's also from Noyo, Pomo, and so he's just loving the class. And you know, Sal Martinez, he's a really good teacher. You know, he really is. He does an excellent job.
I literally text him like probably once a week, like, hey, how do you say this? Or could you, like, because he'll post something how to write it on Facebook, and I'll write him like, hey, could you send me a voice recording of how to say that? And I'll write it in my little notes, because I get a little notepad in my phone of everything that I've been learning from my mom and my aunts and all that. And I love learning the language. I love speaking it. But right now, like, I'm speaking, because I work in the kitchen, so I'm like speaking Spanish, and I'm speaking English, and then I'm trying to learn like Pomo. So like sometimes my brain just like, I'll say a Pomo word at work, and I'm like, oh wait, it's not. It's
Yeah.
Nobody has no idea what that is. But also wanted to go back to you saying adopted people, because I was adopted the first day of my life, and so the only thing I know is to be a Pomo person, and that's the only way I was raised to be, and the way people treated me, the way people taught me to be raised, and elders taught me the language when I was young. They allowed me to come in and dance. So like, I'm completely connected to it, and I don't know any other life. I won't be able to speak about any other experiences in my life. So yeah, and like you said, when people come back when they're older age, and they really feel it, and I felt it since I was born. You know, I felt that this is where I'm supposed to be. This is the life I'm supposed to live. You know, so I really do connect when people say like Native kids need to stay in Native communities because
Yeah.
it's very, very important, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, because I know your grandmother and I knew your mom, or know your mom and, or your mother, I should say your mother, because your mom is someone different. But you were lucky. You have a wonderful mom. You're part of a beautiful community. And the one thing about us Pomo people is that it doesn't matter if you're adopted. You're people. You're our people, and nobody should ever question that. And then for the other, you are Native. You might be adopted, but you are Seminole. And so that's what I know about your grandma. And she was best friends with my mom. So and she was she was like knew all the Indians, all the natives, and everybody knew her, and so she was like always there in the community. So same thing, we all called her auntie, because that's how it is in a Native community, and so yeah, like once you're in there, you're family,
And
there's no
that's
question
what I love
about
about it. It's like you said, it's once you're there, you're there. You're not going nowhere. Nobody's going anywhere. You're loved forever.
Yeah.
So I definitely
Exactly.
want to say thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and I love all the comments that people were commenting about. Right when I shared it this morning, people just like were, "Oh, this is amazing! I'm super stoked for this one. I'm glad you finally having her on." So like, I'm super stoked I was able to have you on and learn from you, and I'm sure everyone on here that listens and is going to listen later is going to learn a lot, because we're going to put it on Spotify too. So definitely we're growing with this podcast. So definitely thank you a lot for coming on, and yeah, I can't say it enough. Thank you. Yahui.
Thank you so much. Yahui.
And I thank you. I'm gonna try to join the live, but I'm gonna get all this stuff posted and figure out or the Zoom meeting, because I think there's language in 15 minutes.
Yeah. In a couple minutes. We have
but
like
yeah,
15 little leeway to get ready and all that, but
yeah. But thank you for everyone joining us, and I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a good rest of your night.
you too. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace. I don't know how to turn it off.
Okay. Thank you guys for joining the live. I really appreciate it. This is the first Facebook one that we did. Definitely go follow Martina and everything she's doing. Definitely go follow us on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Yeah, if you have anybody that wants to tap in with us and come and join us, definitely let me know. Yeah, thank you guys. Peace and love.